This is your turn, number 2, part C for the 8.3 lesson. So the first thing we always want to do is see if something will eliminate when we add. So if we add the equations left side to left side, right side to right side, 2x plus 2x becomes 4x, 6y plus negative 10y becomes negative 4y. So nothing will eliminate. So remember, it would be really nice if one of those terms with 2x was actually a negative 2x. Then when we added them, it would be eliminated. So let's make that happen. So you've already done one in example 3 and the first 2 your turns, and you know that we can take either of these equations since they have the same coefficient, both of them are 2x, that we can take either one of those equations and multiply it by negative 1 so that when we add them, the 2x terms will zero out or eliminate. So it doesn't matter which one you multiply by negative 1. I'm going to go ahead and do it to the first equation. So what I like to do is just write that multiply by negative 1 off to the side. So if I can just erase this real quick, I'm going to erase both of these. Okay, and then I'm going to take that top equation and I just like to write it right here so I don't have to rewrite it, times negative 1. And then I'm going to leave this one, since I'm not doing anything to this equation, I'm just going to take the result of multiplying the top by negative 1 and put it down here. So remember, this top equation is equation number 1, the bottom one's equation number 2, and I'm just going to bring this down here. So let's distribute. So negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times positive 6y is negative 6y. And then on the right side here, 17 times negative 1 is negative 17. So you can see I just did my result down here, and now I don't have to recopy this. So now when I add them together, so I'm going to put a plus sign to remind myself I'm adding those two equations, line up those equal signs, and remember this is equation 1. So just make sure you're adding the two different equations. So this is equation 2, and this one's equation 1, the adjusted version of equation number 1, and now they're lined up nicely so I can add them. So let's go ahead and do that. So 2x plus a negative 2x, we can combine them because they're like terms, and that will zero out like we wanted it to. And now be careful here, this is a negative 10y and negative 6y, and you're adding them. So a negative 10 plus a negative 6 is negative 16. So since they're both negative, add them and keep the sign. So negative 16y equals, and on the right side, 9 plus negative 17 is negative 8. So you can probably see already that our answer is going to be a fraction, and that's okay. So to finish solving, we've got an equation with only one variable, so that's what we wanted, so we can easily solve by dividing by that coefficient of y, so divide each side by negative 16. So negative 16y divided by negative 16 is plain y equals. Now a negative divided by negative will be a positive, and 8 divided by 16 is a half, not 2. Please, 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 that's the biggest mistake people make is they say, oh, 8 goes into 16 twice, so they say the answer is 2. But we're not dividing by 8, we're dividing by 16. It's 8 divided by 16, not 16 divided by 8. So the answer is 1/2. And because it's a terminating decimal, you can write y is equal to 1/2 like that, or you can write 0.5. Either one is acceptable. Remember, the only thing that's not acceptable is if it's a repeating decimal, you need to keep that as a fraction. Okay, so our next steps are the same as we've done many times before, even when we were solving using substitution. So pick one of the original equations. So don't use this one that you adjusted. Take one of the given original equations and plug back in 1/2 for y so that we can solve for x. I'm going to choose to use the second equation, but it doesn't matter which equation you use. So the second equation says 2x minus 10. Now instead of y, we substitute in 1/2 because that's our answer for y, equals 9. Now finish solving, we need to do this 10 times a half. So remember, we're subtracting it. So let's ignore the subtraction sign for now and just say 10 times a half is 5. And remember that we're subtracting 5. So it's 2x minus 5. The other thing you can do is change this to adding a negative. So negative 10 times a half is negative 5, but you're adding it. So adding a negative 5, which is the same thing as just subtracting 5. This is just a simple two-step equation now, so we're going to add 5 to both sides. That zeroes out the negative 5 on the left side, leaving us with 2x equals. and 9 plus 5 is 14. Then we divide each side by 2, and we get x is equal to 7. All right, now that we have both variables solved for, we need to check our answer. Remember, since we used equation number 2 to solve for the second variable, I already know that when x is 7, y is 1/2 for equation number 2. I want to make sure that's also true for equation number 1. So let's check it in equation number 1. So we're going to check. Equation number 1 is 2, and then instead of x, we put 7 plus 6 times our y, which is 1/2. And is that really equal to 17? Okay, order of operations, we're going to multiply first. So 2 times 7 is 14. And then plus, we have to do this multiplication too. 6 times 1/2 is 3. Now we can do addition and add them together to get 17. So yes, it does work. And so we write our final answer as a coordinate point. Remember that x comes first, so it's going to be 7 comma 1/2. And again, you can put 0.5. And we will use solution sets. And that's our final answer. So you've done a lot of practice with elimination, so make sure that if you have any questions that you email your teacher. Thanks for watching.